Let us go through the mines of Moria.
Moria. You fear to go into those mines. You know what they awoke in the darkness of Khazad-dûm. Shadow and flame.
Hey, welcome back to Sambo's Place. I start this video today by admitting that I am very, very hesitant to do this video. In fact, hesitant is a soft word. I am suffering from much trepidation in doing this video because as Gandalf was hesitant to go through the mines of Moria and the beast that he awoken while they went through, the last time I did an update review on ownership of the Smokefire, within 1 week of that video, all hell broke loose. The Balrog came out of the bowels of hell, and the thing just had problem after problem after problem. Problem with the motor, problem with the auger, problem with the shear pin, problem with the PID controller. So I'm hesitant to deliver this today, but I feel I owe you guys some feedback of 2-month ownership on the Weber SearWood XL 600. Now I'm going to tell you that I have literally beat the shit out of this thing since I got it. I've only cleaned it 3 times. I use it almost every night, with the exception of the one night a week that I cook on the wok on the stove inside the house. I don't see any reason why you should fire this thing up and heat this thing up to do wok cooking when I could just take care of it over the gas stove. We'll get into accessories. We're gonna go deep. We have a lot to unpack with this, so hang in there. Sometimes I get a little wordy, but hang in there. The other night, maybe a week, is if we ordered in pizza, or if we ordered out something or other, or if we were out. And I gotta tell you that 5 days a week, strongly, I cook on this thing. So I have beaten it up. I have smoked on it. I have roasted on it. I have griddled on it. I have grilled on it. I have seared on it. I have rotisseried on it. I have put this thing through just about every scenario you could possibly put it through. And so far...
Okay. Dear 8-pound, 6-ounce, newborn infant Jesus. Don't even know a word yet. Just a little infant, so cuddly, but still omnipotent.
Okay, right here, give me a piece of wood to knock on. So far, it's been extremely healthy. Now, these SearWoods, as I said in a previous video, are not manufactured in America. They're not even assembled in America. So what's the quality control on these ops? We don't know. Having said that, the big thing about Weber is that everyone, oh, it's American made, oh, it's American assembled, oh, it's American this. I don't even know if that holds water anymore. Let's look at the Ford Motor Company for a moment. Okay, I'm a Blue Oval guy. Look at all the problems with this company. This is an American company. Look at all the recalls on the Ford. So Weber being American made, American assembled, I don't even know if that's a rubber stamp on quality control anymore. Having said that, if this grill, if this pit, if this smoker stays healthy, this could be a home run deal for a lot of people out there looking for what's possible, an all-in-one type situation. Let's dive in. Let's take a look at this one by one. So if you followed my videos, you know that I had a Smokefire Stealth ELX6 Sear Plus, and it wasn't without issues. And Weber rectified that situation by refunding me and allowing me to purchase a SearWood as soon as they were available. Now, because the Smokefire was a much more expensive unit, I was able to get some accessories within the refund budget. And some of the accessories that I got with this was the griddle, the side table, and the cover. Now, I've explained these in the past, but I just want to make this clear because we're going to break this down and we're going to take a look at affordability, the price of entry into this game of Weber pellet smoking today, and what all these accessories are going to cost you if you want to be able to sear, smoke, rotisserie, have extra storage, you name it. We're going to break it down. Let's take a look at the costs. So let's take a quick look at price point and kind of relate that to value in terms of what you have here. For the 600, you're looking at $8.99. For the XL, you're looking at $11.99. So going off of mine, $11.99. You definitely need one accessory, and that's the cover. I'll talk a little bit about the cover down the road, but that's $94 for the cover. So just to get into the SearWood game here, you're looking at $12.93 for the XL 600. Be $300 less, obviously, for the 600. Now, in terms of what accessories I have and what you would need to get the full functionality and the full experience out of this SearWood, here we go. A side shelf. It's a must-have. It will not surprise me if next year Weber comes out with, say, a SearWood Plus or a SearWood Stealth or SearWood whatever series, you know, 2.0 or whatever. And just like the Smokefire, it's going to come with a side shelf. It's going to come with brackets. It's going to come with maybe a rubberized handle. The goodies that the original Smokefire didn't come with. It's the same situation with the SearWood. It's a base. And it'll be more expensive, obviously. But a side shelf is going to set you back $75. It's a must-have. You need that storage space, especially when you're in the moment and you're grilling and you got a couple different things going on. The next accessory that I added was a rotisserie, and that's $149.99. That's a $150 option. Is it necessary? No. You could roast a chicken. You can make your own homemade little stand-up thing and roast your chicken in there. I'm sure you get a great job with it. The rotisserie is a really nice accessory to have. I've never cooked on one. I think it's great. I think it's something that you should have also with the SearWood. Now, the next accessory is a big step up. It's a $200 step. The griddle. The griddle is $199.99, and it is a substantial piece of carbon steel. It's 20 pounds. And I handed it to my wife and I said, tell me, how much did they make on this thing? They're asking $200 for it. So she looked at it and she looked at the curvature of it. She looked at the cut lines. She looked at how it was manufactured and she handed it back to me and she said, they're not making a lot of money on this. She said, this is a very difficult piece to manufacture. And the amount of metal that they use in that, she said, it's not a cheap piece. So $200, probably worth it. I think so, because it enhances and enlarges your capabilities on your grill to do breakfast, smash burgers, peppers and onions, breakfast potatoes, you name it, the griddle is there. Even smashed dogs. Do you need it right off the bat? No, you don't need it right off the bat, but it's definitely something that you probably want to add. Now, the next two pieces I kept from my Smokefire. And they didn't cost me any, well, they cost me originally with the Smokefire, but I kept them because I was like, you know, I'm so pissed off at Weber for what happened with that. I just kept them, and I'm glad I did. They fit right in. So we're looking at $54.99 for the Weber crafted frame insert kit. And you need that for the Weber crafted ware. You know, you can put the wok insert in there, you can put the pizza stone, which I have no interest in, but that Weber crafted frame kit carries the Weber crafted porcelain enameled double-sided sear grate, which fits right in there. And let me tell you something, if you're really serious about upping your searing game with this SearWood, that's something to have, because it definitely imports and imparts a serious char flavor on your meats. I like it. I'm glad I kept it. It's a do thing. I mean, for 150 bucks, other than the side table, my suggestion is I would get that next. The front table. I'm not even listing this, the price and anything. It's not something that I'm looking forward to getting. It's not something that I want to have. I had one on my Pit Boss, and with my short reach...
Whoa! I got this. Gotta reach the check.
It just didn't work out. I was elbowing things onto the deck. It was very uncomfortable and awkward cooking over it. Not something that I'm going to get for this. So what we're looking at here, if I wasn't able to return my Smokefire and get a refund, I would be looking at $1,871.96 total for everything that I have on this grill. That's a lot of money, okay? It's a lot of money. In fact, $899 to $1,200, there's a lot of different pellet smokers and grills out there within that price range. And when you're talking $1,800, you know, now you're getting close to, you know, the Pits and Spits and the Yoders and all that other thing for a couple $100 more. But the versatility of this grill, the versatility of this pit, and all the things that you could do, and you could do well in it, I think that this has the hallmark of being an all-in-one pellet grill, smoker, griddler, everything you want for your backyard cooking experience. So let's take a closer look at some other things, and perhaps a couple things that Weber could improve upon. I hope they're watching this video. Let's take a look at the griddle for a moment here. Now, 20 pounds, as I mentioned, and you could see that if you push it all the way, there's a gap. And Jesse C said, yeah, you know, you just got to know that when you buy this griddle, it doesn't, you know, fit flush with... Well, that's a good thing, because here's the thing. With the gaps, it allows you the room to get your hands in on both sides and put the griddle in place and remove the griddle. One thing I will say about this griddle is this thing holds heat just like any cast iron piece of cookware you have. And you're going to need some welding gloves or some really good heating pads if you are going to do some griddling, and then you're going to go and you're going to do some smoking, and you need to remove this. You're not going to be able to pick this thing out of there. It's going to stay 400 to 500 degrees for quite some time. Now, I've had some questions about care and some questions about the rust capabilities of this. It's rust resistant. It's not rust proof. It's carbon steel. I forgot this out in the rain a couple days ago, and it sat on the deck through some tremendous downpours and thunderstorms. No rust. But I gotta tell you, it's well seasoned. And I keep it oiled and I keep it greased. I'm sure that helped. But sitting out in the rain for hours, nothing. I also was asked, how do you clean it? I use my metal scraper, and I scrape with this, and then I just get a damp paper towel and I wipe it down. And since it's seasoned so well, I don't even have to oil it anymore because I could feel it. Season it as per directions, and it'll give you good life. I'm really enjoying the griddle. Can't say enough about it. I'd like to use it more. Cooked breakfast on it a couple times. Had a wonderful experience on it with some breakfast potatoes. Now, the thing about the griddle, and I noticed that some people pull their griddle and their sear grates to this side. My grill with my biscuit test shows that this is the hotter end of the grill, and I'm thinking that's because of the fan blowing this way away from the hopper. So I keep my griddle to the left. It kind of has two zones. With that big heat deflector in the middle here, this is cooler than it is on this end, which is really cool because, you know, you could start your bacon over here, get your grease accumulated, remove your bacon, you know, dump your potatoes in, or you want to, or your onion in, and then move them over here. Now, when I'm talking cooler, I'm not talking about, you know, 100 degrees cooler. I'm talking about maybe 20, 30 degrees cooler, but pull it up to this end. Then you could drop your eggs in here, or if you want to leave it down the hot end and you want the cooler zone over here for something a little more delicate like the eggs, it gives you an opportunity. It's kind of a 2-zone griddle. When I'm using this griddle, I crank manual mode typically to 10 when I'm doing smash dogs and smash burgers. I use it around 8 to 9 for my breakfast potatoes, and I typically put it around 7 for delicate things like eggs. But I will say this, other than delicate items like eggs that you don't want to burn, other than veggies, most of the time I just crank this manual 10. It's not a very efficient way to griddle. Gas griddles are going to give you more bang for the buck with gas. You blow through the pellets on this thing like you wouldn't believe. It's almost like watching the sands of an hourglass in your pellet hopper down there. But I enjoy coming out on the deck on a beautiful day, taking advantage of the weather out here, and using my griddle to do things that I would typically do over the stove in the kitchen. I want to get outside. I want to do some neat stuff. So great attachment, great accessory. 200 bucks, gonna set you back, but it's really neat to have. Now, if you saw my video, I keep my Weber crafted insert and my double-sided sear grate on magnets underneath my folding table, a la smoke fire. You can see we're a little bit dirty. We haven't cleaned it up yet in a while, but that's okay. We're making a video. I want you to see usage. So I typically, when I run this insert, I typically run it all the way to the left. Now, I've seen some videos, and I know there's some folks who run theirs to the right. Again, my pit, according to my biscuits, shows the left-hand section of mine to be a little bit hotter than the right-hand section. My smoke fire absolutely sucked at searing. I couldn't get that thing to sear. This pit does a fantastic job. It almost gives you a charcoal grilling experience. In fact, if you've watched any of my other videos, I mix a blend of charcoal pellets with wood pellets, about 50-50, to give it a nice earthy smoke. And when you do that, you almost get a charcoal grilling experience, with the exception of the nuisance of starting charcoal. This is about as close as you're gonna get, I think, on any pellet smoker, really. So let's talk about this one-piece flavorizer. I think it's more of a heat deflector. I've had it flame up, especially if you're going to do steaks, or you're gonna do something with a buttery sauce or some kind of a grease that's gonna drop. I've had flare-ups, I've had flame-ups, I had the flames lick the meat. I've never had that with my smoke fire. It is a big plus. It's a big improvement over the design that they had with the smoke fire. But I will say there's one thing that I do miss about the smoke fire, and that was I had 2 inches of space between my grill grates and my flavorizer bars where I could put my pan of water underneath that wetted my smoke and also caught my grease. So having said that, this flavorizer bar has taken a lot more abuse than the flavorizer bars did over 8 months with my smoke fire, and it cleans up pretty darn easy. I mean, the grease, the char just flakes off of it. It's pretty dirty right now. As soon as I'm done making this video, I'm actually going to clean this grill for the 4th time that I've owned it. You see my hands are dirty from touching it, but I don't care. But having said that, the pros, it's a great heat deflector. It throws up the flames and gives you a little bit more sear capability. Cons, you can't put the water tray underneath it. You can't even buy that water tray accessory that they have for the smoke fire. There's just not enough room. So that brings me to the difference between a 600 and a 600 XL. And if you're trying to decide what you want to buy, I'm going to suggest that you go with the larger grill, because once you have the smaller grill, that's it, you're stuck with it. When you have the larger grill, you could zone it off and do what you want. That said, if you're going to be smoking several different things and you don't have that ability to put the water pan below your grill grates, you're going to be putting it off to the side somewhere. So you're going to need the size, the 36-inch cook space size of the 600 XL over the 600. So that's my suggestion. Spend the extra $300. Yeah, you're probably going to burn through a little bit more pellets. Yeah, it's probably going to take a tad longer to heat up, but it's well worth to have the size and the flexibility where to put your pan of water when you're doing long smokes. Boy, you can see my pit is really, really dirty here, okay? I didn't polish her up for you like a show car. Let's talk about this. First thing I always do is I always remove that safety grate. Just makes filling the hopper a lot easier. The hopper design is vastly improved over the smoke fire. I mean, it's not even close. It's sleek, it's stealthy, it looks good. The PID controller is right here. It actually gives you a fuel gauge level because there's a window on the back side of this. The PID controller is really, really good. It's fantastic. The temperature probe inside the grill is a little bit off. I'm finding that it's anywhere from 15 to 25 degrees off, but over time it starts to level out once the entire pit gets heated up. So keep that in mind. You might want to buy an accessory probe to put in there or a meter for your meat because I wouldn't just go with the heat probe inside the Weber. And the probe that you get with it is okay. It's a few degrees off. I think I estimated about 4 degrees off my meter. So the hopper's good, the design is good, the PID controller does a great job. Manual mode, again, manual mode, I mostly use 10. Only will I use, say, 7, 8, or 9 when I'm doing something a little more fragile like vegetables or eggs. But it fires up quickly. This takes about 12 minutes to get to the desired temperature I want on manual 10, which is about 550 degrees. It heats up quicker than my smoke fire did. It uses less pellets than my smoke fire did. So somewhere along the lines, Weber improved the PID software of this and made it a more efficient grill. Improvements there. Thank you, Weber. Now, we really can't and we really shouldn't do a 2-month review without really diving in and seeing what kind of mess we created after owning this thing for 2 months. Okay, so the ash pan, you can see in there right now. Oh, I haven't cleaned this out in a while. It's collecting a lot of grease and not so much ash, but that's okay. Let's see how much grease made it down into that grease catch. A pretty substantial amount. So we are getting grease down into the grease catch. It is doing its job. It's doing a much better job than the smoke fire did. Now, I'm showing you this because I haven't cleaned this out in a while. There's probably about 22 hours of cooking on this, and it's headed for its 4th clean. Okay, so I just wanted to show you, this is after the 4th cleaning, and I scooped probably 1 inch to 2 inches of grease out of this bottom pan, so it's definitely doing its job. And the ash pan, or the GT500 oil pan I call it, there was a lot of grease and a lot of ash in this pan, much more so this time around than in the previous cleans. And I'm going to attribute that to the charcoal blend that I'm using and not so much the wood pellet blend that I used before. It seems the charcoal, soot, and ash is a little heavier, a little thicker, a little clumpier, and it keeps down low, out of the firebox way and out of, well, out of the innards of the grill. The firebox over here, there was hardly any ash in it whatsoever. I took it out. There's hardly any ash down in the bottom this time. There was less soot and ash debris in the diffuser. So I initially graded this pretty low in terms of ash and grease mitigation, but I got to tell you, after the 4th clean, it's doing what it's supposed to do. The grease and the ash is making it to where it's supposed to be, away from the heat of the firebox, and I'm generally pleased, and this is what you should expect after about 2 months of ownership. Moving upward, here we go, 4th clean after 2 months. Not as much grease on the back channels. We had grease pretty much all over that lower flange, but boy, you could see There's a little bit of crust I cleaned off very carefully off the igniter. But this is it's doing what it's supposed to do. And after 2 months, I'm pleasantly surprised with everything that I've thrown at this. And figuratively, I should have said, not literally, figuratively beat the shit out of this thing, cooking on it just about every night. It's cleaning up pretty easy and pretty well. I'd say I got about less than 15 minutes in on this grill. Guys, you know how when you forget Valentine's Day or the anniversary, yeah, right, and live to tell about it, you make it up and you do something special. Well, here's what we're gonna do. Since Sambo's place has neglected cleaning the SearWood as it should have been, we're gonna treat it to a little power washing today. And I know some of you might be thinking, oh my God, he's subjecting it to all that moisture.
Trust me.
As I said before, and I'll say it again, there's some things that don't add up in the communication department.
What we've got here is failure to communicate. And I don't like it any more than you may.
The tool management on this sucks. The cover doesn't reach the bottom. The cable management sucks on this. The fact that you only get 2 ports for heat probes in case you wanted to use those. You should have 4, especially with a pit this size. There are room for improvement. Now, something I forgot to mention when I was talking about the griddle, and one of the subscribers left a comment. I love euphemisms and I love metaphors and similes. I teach with them all the time. And he said, using the griddle is like shaking hands with the devil. That handle, okay, when you are cranking manual mode and the heat is coming up from the front of the cover because it's not sealed off, that aluminum handle gets really, really hot. And you need a glove. You definitely do. And I found out the hard way. It's like shaking hands with the devil. In fact, I'm currently researching to see if I could find the length of the holes for the Smokefire Sear Plus that had the rubberized handle across the front, because if it's the same size bar and the mounting holes line up, I'm going to try and order a replacement handle from a Smokefire and bolt it on the front of this to give me some insulation when I grab that handle, because it gets pretty hot in manual mode. I've had one glitch, one little issue with the SearWood, and I'm going to tell you about it in case you do. I started opening the lid and it started catching on the opposite side, and I couldn't release the hood unless I was doing it straight from the middle. Well, up underneath, okay, you'll notice that there are bolts, and it's a 3-piece jobby. It's not as robust as the Smokefire was, that had a strap that caught both pieces together and bolted them together. These are kind of sandwiched together, and they have a nut and a screw cap on the inside. So I contacted Weber Care, and I spoke to this guy named Max, and honestly, I'm sorry, he was not as helpful as Jesse C. He takes way too long to get back to you. Everything he says to me is quoted straight from engineering. There's really no problem solving on his end. There's really no conversation. Having said that, I tightened up all the bolts, not his suggestion, just me as a problem solver. I tightened up all the bolt heads underneath on both sides, and then I tightened up the handle. And I noticed that as soon as I tightened up the handle in particular, that's when the flex went away from the hood. So if you are encountering any flex on the hood, make sure your handle is tightened. Make sure all those nut caps on the inside are tightened, because you can't pick it up from the edge. I'm sorry, you can't pick it up from the end. It'll flex and it won't release. That's, to me, that's a design malfunction. That's an engineering issue right there. They should have engineered the hood to be more robust and better built, like the Smokefire and like their bigger Genesis grills, because they have pretty big hoods too. So, all in all, let's sum this up. Should you buy one? Hell yeah. Look, time will tell, okay, that this stays healthy. But right now, this is a phenomenal all-in-one. All the things you could do on this, all the things I showed you if you've been following my channel, it's a perfect all-in-one backyard griller. Now, is it commercial quality like Pits and Spits or you know, a Yoder, or was it Texas Grill, is that other one? No, it's not built with the same gauge steel, and it's not an American manufacturer, American assembled. But right now, it's providing Sambo's Place with some fantastic cooks, and I'm cooking on it just about every night. I'm beating it up like Rocky Balboa is beating up meat, baby. And it's taken a punch, and it's taken a beating. And I think that if you are in the market for one of these, you can't go wrong. Thanks for checking in. Any questions or comments, suggestions, maybe something I missed, put them down below. I'll be happy to get back to you. Appreciate everybody checking in. Appreciate everyone supporting. Thanks for checking in. Sambo out.